Let's talk about Tottenham Hotspur. Consecutive wins, consecutive clean sheets. Is this Spurs 2.0 or is this another false dawn? Martin, what have you made of the way that Thomas Frank has put his stamp on Tottenham Hotspur?
Well, like everything else, I'll preface it by saying it's early days and it's a couple of games into the season. Excellent win, I must admit. I think they will have gained things from the match against Paris Saint-Germain. I know eventually they lost the lead and lost in penalties, but overall to be playing, to be as a step as a new manager coming in, and as that's one of your first games, I think there's nothing but excitement about the whole thing. Thomas Frank has proved himself a really good manager at Brentford. His personality is all over that football club, and he's trying to do the same here. It is very, very early on. Has he earned the right to manage a club like Tottenham Hotspur? Absolutely.
It's only 3 games in, but there was much more tactical discipline about the team, high press, energy, commitment, ball recoveries. It was terrific. Martin Samuel in the Times, though, this weekend has said, ask the question, how good might Tottenham be if Daniel Levy backed them? I mean, Daniel Levy would probably say, well, I have backed them in terms of bringing in transfers, but to take them to the next level, do they need an extra injection?
Yes, I would say so. I think he came out over the summer after they won that Europa League final and said it's great, but we want to be Premier League champions. But to be Premier League champions, you need to spend big money.
Did he say that they want to be Premier League champions, or did he say that he wanted to be fighting and challenging at the top of the Premier League and for major honours?
I think he said we want to win the Premier League, didn't he? I think that was his quote.
Well, let's get a long way from that, aren't they?
Well, yeah, because their record signing is still Dominic Solanke. £65 million is a big outlay, but it's nothing compared to what the likes of City and Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal regularly spend on top players. Even Manchester United has spent more than that on 2 of their signings in this transfer window alone. Wages are a problem because they don't pay the salaries that those other historic members of the so-called Big Six do. I think they've got a genius of a manager in Thomas Frank. I think we really admire what he did at Brentford. We really admire him as a person. I think he did a tactical job on Pep Guardiola at the weekend. He changed the configuration of the midfield, which I had concerns about going into it. I thought Paulinho was excellent. But are Tottenham really going to challenge for the Premier League title this season? I think that's a stretch.
But that's an ask to do.
They
right?
loosen
They were 17th, 16th, 17th at the end of last season. Right? But to move from there to being Premier League title challengers is a massive shift, especially with Champions League commitments as well.
They've got to start breaking their transfer record on a regular basis to be talked about in those terms.
Did you, with your knowledge of this situation, did you think that Eze was always going to go to Arsenal, and do you think that was just a holding thing with Tottenham Hotspur? What's your view?
I think there was always a nagging suspicion that Arsenal would come in and hijack it, which is why I think Tottenham should have made sure they got the deal done earlier. They probably should have triggered the release clause, paid the £68 million and got him signed on before that injury to Kai Havertz.
They would say that they did do the deal. They did make sure that everything was organised with Crystal Palace. They had the personal terms done. They had the fee arranged. Palace wanted him to stay and play in the Thursday night game, which is why the deal was delayed.
He didn't play in the Thursday night game once Arsenal agreed a deal.
That's right, absolutely.
But it's Arsenal, and he is an Arsenal supporter. He's got an attachment with Arsenal, and that's why Tottenham say he went there. But I think Crook is right that actually if they'd stamped their authority earlier in the transfer market and gone maybe in July and went and got Eberechi Eze, it might have been a different situation.
Yeah, I don't know. Arsenal are supposed to have said to Crystal Palace way early on, listen, keep us informed of the situation. That's it's a nice thing. I remember this myself, let's say having a player and knowing that he wants to improve his game, and then a club coming in and saying, well, keep us informed, as if to say, well, listen, it's your duty to keep us informed of the player. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Arsenal are asking in the first place, but that's not the point. I think you're right. Tottenham should have nailed it.
Yeah, I think Thomas Frank is well respected as well. I think he's got a great chance of taking Tottenham onto greater things. And I was in the tunnel after the game on Saturday, and he was having a chat with Pep Guardiola. They were having a big old discussion. And I've been in that position a few times, luckily, over the course of the last few years. And I've seen managers go in and talk to Pep, and Pep will sit there, and sometimes those conversations are managers wanting to sort of kneel at the Messiah, if you get what I mean. They sit there and want to sort of, just discuss things with him because he's such a revered character. But this was definitely a meeting of two peers having a genuine discussion about football. It wasn't as if he was subservient to anyone. I think there's a lot of respect in the game for what Thomas Frank has achieved at Brentford and what he could do at Tottenham.
Of course there is. Yeah, he took over from Dean Smith, and it was he himself was new to management, or certainly at the football club. By the time he left, it was all Thomas Frank, and it's right, and he's earned that respect throughout for what he's done. And there's no such thing as a side outside the top 5 or 6 as being an established Premier League team. But as close as anything, you felt that Brentford would be that because of him as much as anything else, regardless of the players that they had at the football club, because of him. And I often wonder whether Visa, for instance, would have acted in the manner in which he did do had Thomas Frank still been the manager there at Brentford. But he has earned the right to do this year. I think you're absolutely spot on with the respect that he has in the game. This idea about having this was a conversation at the end between himself. Yeah, okay. I've never really been into that myself because, sitting with a manager afterwards. And in fairness, most managers are the same, would feel the same. It's a lot of small talk. If you've won the game, you want that manager to disappear quickly so that you can celebrate with the rest of your coaching staff or whatever the case may be. And if you lost the game, you want out of there as quickly as possible as well too. So I've never been into it. Although when Alex Ferguson invites you in, you go in. You definitely go in, regardless of what that result is. And generally speaking, at Old Trafford, it wouldn't be great. But overall, you go in. Now, Arsene Wenger wasn't. I don't know what his relationship was at the latter stages with Sir Alex Ferguson. Two great managers, no question about it. But Arsene Wenger didn't really go into other people's rooms, and I kind of agree with that. I agree with that. What are you going to learn in 3 minutes or 4 minutes conversation with somebody who's actually going to be really nice to you if you've lost the game, and actually kind of morose if they've lost?
Yeah, and also we have to remember that what you're going to learn after 3 games of a season, some things, but not everything. And we have to sort of caveat, I suppose, much of what we react to over the early parts of the season with the fact that you're just 2 games in or 3 games in his circumstance.
Tottenham have been down this road before.
Well, it's best to say, because Ryan's just texted in saying, such short memories, Postecoglou started with 10 Premier League wins. Slightly different calibre of opposition if you look back at those 10 Premier League wins. And look how that turned out, he said.
Top under Nuno after.
He was a gnat's eyelash from being relegated. Spurs will fake like the Super Bowl. And football, as we know it, is dying and quickly, says Ryan. I sort of went off on a tangent there towards the end. But Spurs will do nothing with this squad. Not strong enough, no depth. That's from Lee the Baggy. Not enough quality players. Frank is great, says one texter. This is unnamed. But so is Poch, so is Jose, so is Conte. The manager has never been the problem at our club. We are doing great right now. Having 5 of the best 6 defenders has a lot to do with it. Long may it continue, but let's stay calm. When I was speaking to Thomas Frank after the game, he did say to me, we are in the market to add to our group. Are they going to do that before next week's deadline?
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Obviously, they've now got an Eberechi Eze size hole to fill with James Maddison out injured, missed out on Morgan Gibbs-White as well. So clearly that's a position they're actively seeking. I wonder if they might try for Bilal El Khanous, who was left out by Leicester at the weekend. There's reports this morning, our own Ben Jacobs, about Hincapié, defender at Leverkusen, although Arsenal are in for him as well. So you wonder if history might repeat itself there.
Well,
I think I think Daniel Levy wants to invest. I think there will be money to spend, but I think the wages are part of the issue because they've been turned down a few times this season. There was a little bit of talk that they were trying to hijack Brian and Bumo, and obviously there's a connection with Thomas Frank, but they wouldn't match or couldn't match the wages that Manchester United are offering, so that one slipped through their fingers. Johan Wissa, I think, only has sights for Newcastle, so it is proving a difficult window for Spurs.
Let's talk a little bit, Martin, about the problems that James Trafford had. How delicately do you have to handle that situation? Because you brought him back to the club from Burnley. You've paid a lot of money for him. You've put him in the first 2 games of the season. he didn't have the greatest of home debuts. But how do you deal with that as a manager? Because you could crush his confidence if you take him out and put Ederson straight back in.
Well, the manager chose to pick him again, and nothing wrong with that. I think that it was said afterwards that this is the team that I've chosen. This is what the manager said, and that's fine. I don't know what the situation is with the other goalkeeper, whether he wants to leave the football club or whether he's made it clear. I don't know. Are you talking to me about?
Well, now he's made the error and he's played the ball straight to the Tottenham Hotspur player under severe pressure, and it's cost his team a goal. Will Pep Guardiola decide to take him out, or does he have to show faith in him?
Well, my old goalkeeping coach, Seamus McDonough, will not be happy with me saying this, but most goalkeepers do not see an outfield position. They don't see it. He's played the ball in. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, regardless of people saying, he should have played it to the other boys' favourite side. Don't play the ball at all. You should do. I cannot understand this. You're giving away a goal. That's what you've done. The goals are difficult to come by in the Premier League. They're difficult to come by anywhere. Just don't give a soft goal away. So that's not the point. That's an error he's made. A big error I felt in the game. Is that enough to take him out when I don't know the political situation of what's happening behind? You'll let me know what's happening, Crookie, believe it or not, and take me out of this hole that I'm in. But overall,
would you really drop a goalkeeper for making that error?
Not if I'm telling him that's what he has to do. Yeah. Not at all. I should be blaming myself. If you are asking the goalkeeper at all costs, you're going to play it. Not at all. You cannot take the goalkeeper out for doing something, even if he's made the mistake.
I think Martin's dead right there. Part of the attraction with James Trafford was that he is that ball-playing goalkeeper that Pep Guardiola likes. That's why it's a little bit strange, these Donnarumma suggestions.
He's not that
because he's not a ball-playing goalkeeper. He's a fantastic shot stopper. Call me old-fashioned. I'd rather my goalkeeper just kept the ball at the back of the net personally.
Absolutely.
But there is definite interest in Donnarumma. Certain dominoes have to fall into place. Ederson has a huge offer on the table from Galatasaray, £8 million a year. I'm told that would be a Turkish record in terms of wages. Does he want to make the move from City? We don't know that yet. If he doesn't go, I don't think Donnarumma comes in.
Well, it's staggering. This Donnarumma, effectively, I know Paris Saint-Germain were terrific in the second half of the season from January onwards in the Champions League, and won convincingly against Inter in the final. But he was as big a part to play in the matches. You're talking about Aston Villa. He's made some great saves. He's
Arsenal
done,
in the second leg.
Absolutely. So how you're talking about a goalkeeper who is seemingly considered like a second choice somewhere along the way. He's a great goalkeeper. There's no question about it. And he's very young.
Yeah. James Trafford, I wonder what they do with him over the course of the next few weeks. Ederson, does he leave for Galatasaray between now and the close of the window? I think it'd be a bit rough on James Trafford to have switched Burnley for Manchester City, only for then Donnarumma or somebody else to come in and him be relegated to second place after that £30 million move, when he could have played first-team football at Burnley or Newcastle United. But Pep Guardiola will make that decision over the course of the next couple of weeks.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.